Hello. One thing I've been meaning to do for a little while, and hopefully you can see what I'm doing here, everything's clear. Maybe I'll move up a little higher. I did a video about texturizing the boards about 6 months ago, maybe 5. And I have since modified that technique pretty extensively, because one thing I don't like is it tends to give sort of these ropey type of strandy things, which I can live with them, but I don't really love them. So hopefully you can see that. You can see that ropey type of those strandy things. Okay. Anyway, I find that distracting, so I've revised my technique, and because because I love you dearly, my subscribers, I'm going to share this with you. Okay, so those of you that are painters, you can pay attention. So the basic technique starts the same. The thing is that a lot of that ropey quality, normally I'll ladle out some of this on my own thing here. So basically, just like the previous video, we get the gesso one with a big knife. Okay, so we're going to do that real quick here. By the way, if you hear this knocking sound, it's a wind chime made out of bamboo and a coconut that's hanging outside the my front door of my studio here. And if we get interrupted, it's because I got a visitor or something. So visitor time might be over. Had someone come in the studio yesterday, bought a painting. It's always great. I love people that buy paintings. They're the best people. Anyway, it's not just because I need your money or anything. It's just they really are the best people. They want to beautify their homes and their existences. They have a feeling for the nicer things in life, and they're willing to part with some of their cash to acquire them and have them enhance their lives. That's what I call an evolved human being. So, because this is a little zoomed out, in fact, I might be able to zoom in a little bit more. Let's see here. Yeah, the problem with the more of the zoom in is that's not so bad. I can work a little higher up. Come on in. Come. There you go. Good boy. Go on. Okay, good dog. I'm sort of blocking Denny's little spot. That's my studio dog. Well, my permanent dog. My home dog too, but he comes to work with me. And he has a nice spot underneath my working desk here. Now, this is the thing. I don't want too much on this board. This is one. You want a good, even consistency. How much of this you do doesn't really matter. This is you can see the board's covered, but not too heavily. And the reason you don't want to cover it too heavily is you're going to see in a minute how this technique diverges. Now, some people could paint on that. I can't paint on that. You know what I mean? Yeah. Too many things that might not go with the particular subject I'm working on. So, we're going to evolve. This is a piece of newspaper. You take this piece of newspaper. Let me push it up a little bit. Really crumple it up good. You see, now smart people among you have already probably figured out what I'm going to do, but you can't just do this and then walk away. There's several steps involved. In fact, this video will be recorded over several days. It's a two-step process to get a really awesome texture. But now, what I recommend so you don't get a bunch of lines is that you pull it in the middle like so and pop that down so it makes contact there first. Spread it out. You push a little bit. Don't push too hard. And then peel it off. Okay, so now keep this handy, right? And now we're going to evaluate a little bit. Some of these areas a little too flat, nothing there. So you want to go in and also so what I'm after with the texture ideally is a surface that's disturbed but not distracting, and I have veered. See, this is that line. We've got to get rid of that now. This is one of the reasons you stretch it out the way I showed you. Alright, so already introduced some nice. Now see, when you get these little peaks like that, that's not ideal. Hopefully you can see that. See those real high areas? That's okay, because we're not done. We're going to take this piece of paper, crumple it up a little bit more, push it up a little bit, and then we'll do a bit of this. The idea being to break things up. What we don't want is too fine of a pattern. And what we definitely don't want is any real big shapes that are, we want the big shapes subdividing little shapes, but we want everything working into a really nice pattern, and that's kind of getting there. So, thing is about this is that you might think, oh, that's pretty good, I'm done. Well, yeah, you're not really done. You're not done, because this is still, and I'm going to talk in a minute here about my you can see here, hopefully, yeah, there's areas like this that are some of board coming through here and here. Now you could sit there and try and make everything perfect right now, but what I think is a better plan is to bring in a little bit more if you need it. What you don't want is, you don't want like areas that are extremely flat. So also, because this is kind of drying on you, you can hit it with some. Now if you just go plop, 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 you'll end up with all these little peaks, and then you'll sand them down, and you have a surface that's mechanical looking. It doesn't look quite right, too uniform. And whether it's fine, then it just gives you a stipple type pattern. I've worked with that for a long time, but you can do better, and this is why. See, now we have this flat area here. It's just going to behoove us right now. Let's just put a little dot of gesso there. Okay, so this is the evolution of my thinking on this. Who wants to spend time doing this? You know, kind of thing. This is you want to spend time painting. That's the fun. Not that this isn't fun, but you know, I think we're always looking for automatic, instantaneous type of ways. So I've already spent quite a while to get this, and I could say, well, okay, that's enough. It's a nice organic texture. This could be okay. But what we're going to do is we're going to let this dry. Then we're going to sand it, and then we're going to repeat the process. And so what I'll do is, you know, record that. I wish I've been thinking about this, but I'll be recording that maybe Monday morning, because this is my Saturday, so I'm doing other things. But we'll be doing another coat like this, and then we do a coat with oil paint, and there's several things involved in each part of the process. So it gets kind of involved, but you'll see it's going to look pretty awesome when we're done, and so much so that it's very nice of me to share this, because if you do this to your board prep, you're going to see it's going to be a huge difference, a big improvement. I get a lot of people asking me about the texture. The texture's good, but if it's too overt, it might cost you a sale because it's off-putting to somebody. Anyway, that's where we're at today. We'll let that dry. In fact, you know, it might be dry in an hour or so. So it's about 1 o'clock here. I'm going to be here for another hour and a half, 2 hours. So we'll see. I may be able to sand it down and then show you step 2. And then Monday, the oil painting process. So this is, by the way, this is a 7x10. And I have some 7x10s that I prepped. Let's see if I can do this. I have a very tight working area here that I don't like. Don't love them. My first attempt at, actually, these are not completely dry, but one, dang it. Okay, I'm going to be redoing these actually today. I'm going to use the back side. So, oh, maybe I can find one that's too intense. I'm sure I can. Hold on. Oh, actually, it's a finished painting, but it tells the story just as well. Now, it's a nice little painting. However, looking at this painting is what sparked this whole evolution. Alright, so you know what that's looking like. We'll be getting back into that. Here's a recent painting. People have liked it. See, there you go. This has been textured, and it's textured in that technique that's on the last video, and it's not bad, you know, although this is much heavier. I gotta turn it in the light so you really can see it. There we go. Much heavier than I like. So I've been thinking about this for a while. I finished that painting about a month or so ago, and then this is a reaction to that. Okay, here we go. Still done with the knife, but the gesso was then broke up with a brush. Extremely fine. This might be nice to paint on. However, it's going to end up being, it's just a modified version of the stipple. It's an improvement over that type of stipple boards I would do. But I wasn't that satisfied with it. As a matter of fact, like I said, I'm gonna do what we just showed you in the beginning on the back of this one coming up. And this is going to be our end result. Now this is still drying, and this is coated with oil paint. Hopefully you can see what an interesting texture this is. Alright? It's broke up. It's very natural looking, and I'm so excited about this. So this is started like the black gesso we just saw with second coat of gesso, and it's got the oil paint on it now. It's drying. So this is where we're headed. And I am excited to paint on that. I think that is really nice. all of this basically grew out of me really enjoying painting on top of old failed paintings. I just love the textural quality of the painting on top of the old painting. However, I don't really want to do a bunch of bad paintings, just so I had a surface to work on. Anyway, I'll be back maybe today, maybe this afternoon, show you step 2 and then step 3 with the oil paint, which is again a big difference, a big evolution from where we were 6 months ago. And I'm not saying that this is the end either, but I have really arrived at something here that I think is well, it's beautiful, and it's taken time to get there. However, in my mind, I justified that. I can justify that now because of that painting I just showed you. That texture underneath the painting is, in some angles, the dominant thing you see. So it really makes sense to take the time to create something that's beautiful and paint on that. This is what I'm sharing with you today. So we'll be back. Hello, we are back. This is the one we've done here. You can see dry now. Gotta get that in the camera. You can see we have these areas that a little bit of the board's poking through. In general, though, it's sort of an interesting texture, huh? Now, I rushed the drawing a little. There were some places that were, let's see if I can get a little more peaky, and I just kind of went like that, and it dries a little quicker. So what we need to do now, and I usually do this outside, but I'll do this for the benefit of the camera. This is semi-coarse sandpaper. I have a block that's a bit finer, and because we have sort of an interesting texture that's not too deep, let's see if I can really show you that. We don't need to sand too much, but what we do want to do is sand. So I'm not applying huge amounts of pressure. I like to hit the edges too, like that. But I am taking off the peakiest peaks. That's the nice thing about the gesso. It dries pretty quick. An area like that, I want to go a little bit more. I don't want any real peaks. So, like I say, this is just about the pressure of the block sitting on the board. I'm not pushing hard at all. Now, I had a whole bunch of boards I had to fix where I really, that were too textured. I had to bear down. And that was all part of my process as well, just getting to this place here where the texture is disturbed. Now, also you see we're going to have with these flat areas, these won't be incongruous in the painting. So we want a, hold on here. See, this is, nobody, you're nobody cold today. Anyway, yeah, I'm liking this. It's interesting. See, that's already really nice. This is a bit of an issue though, and because I work archivally, I'm not going to be satisfied with board peeking through my gessoing, so we're going to go through it again. So I wipe this off, just get that powder off. Okay, there we go. And we'll grab some gesso. Now, it'll be less gesso on the second pass. So almost what I do is just rub it down so that I can see a bit of the board coming through. And you don't want to put too much because it's all going to end up on the newspaper anyway, because if you haven't guessed, that's what we're going to do again here. So You can see I'm constantly just grabbing the gesso there that's from before, but I need a good uniform. I don't want it too thin. Not at all. I definitely don't want it too thick. Waste of materials. So, turn the board around. And here I'm pushing the new gesso into all the little grooves and stuff. Now, I don't know if I have quite enough. I need to grab just a little bit more here. Don't want too much though. Really better off having just the right amount. Yeah, that's good. Now, so we're just breaking things up here. And keeping in mind that we have a very nice texture underneath anyway, so. Like that. Okay, gotta grab me some paper here. The big newspaper's fine because you can get 4. Alright, if it's like your weekly newspaper size, or newspaper magazine size, you'll get 2 by just tearing in half. So, crumple that ball. Alright, and sometimes it's worth it to take the ball, unfold it somewhat, and then re-crumple it again. Because what you want to avoid is lots of like little straight lines. Yeah. We're doing this with video. If you were here in the studio, well, it'd be real, wouldn't it? Oh, that's nice. See, very nice. So again, you pull that center, pop it down, work from the center out. Well, looks like we missed a little on the corner, that's okay. And here, of course, you notice when we peeled it up last time, we peeled some of the gesso off the board. Now here's the magic. Right, wow, nice. And the only downside is we get some flat areas here, so you're going to have to come in with your knife here. I'm trying to show you about how much I have on there. There we go. Just a little. Some of these flatter areas, they need to be disturbed. So, just a little on the knife. Kind of like we did last time too. You can put some little blobs in the center of those flat areas. Yeah, so you might think, like I have, wow, this is taking a while. But, like I say, you know, when you look at the fact that, let me get in the camera here. When you look at the fact that most of this texture is going to show in the final painting, it's pretty much worth it, isn't it? Worth it to have something beautiful. And it's not like you have to sit here and I'm getting the perspective on the road properly, or the tree shape is absolutely correct, or any of that. This is just a matter of just addressing things and going through the time, taking the time. Taking the time at the beginning. Now, this is pretty advanced stuff. you know, I always see people working on cheap canvases or just plain flat pieces of masonite. I'm not saying you can't do good work on a cheap canvas. That's not what I'm saying. But what I am saying is, if you have respect for your work, you should have respect for the surface you're creating on. Like this is just masonite. It's nothing expensive about it. For a long time I resisted working on masonite because my initial experiments with it gave me some problems. But once I started gessoing properly, I mean, we still have some areas here. Now, you notice I've been just wiping my knife here too. Sometimes kind of like a spackler. In fact, this is not that different from a spackle type finish. You can tap and pull. Now another thing that's kind of throwing us is some of this is sort of dry and some of it's wet. Ultimately though, just any real flat areas need to be addressed. That knife, I'm wiping it off. Otherwise, if it's too much stuff on the knife, it's creating more problems than... Oh yeah, we're getting pretty close to done. So a bit of a pull, a pap and a pull. Because what we don't want is pyramids. What we do want is little things breaking up. I can see this flat area here. Whoops, let's get in the camera. Sorry. I don't have my wife photographing this time, so some of it will be. You'll get the idea though. It's quite repetitious what I'm doing here. Now if you hear some snoring, that's old Denny. He's having a little nap. He's ready to go home. He's already bored. He was quite excited to come here today, but now he's quite excited to leave. It's how it is when you're a dog. Alright, so things are getting sticky now. A little papping. I think that's looking really good. This color is black. I can't paint on straight up black. I just can't do it. But we'll be with the oil paint. We will be that'll be Monday because today's my Saturday. And this would be dry, and I actually usually let the gesso dry overnight anyway, just to make absolutely sure it's 100% dry before. Yeah, this is good enough. So that's where we're at now. You can see that's a nice surface. Now it doesn't tell the whole story because some is wet, some bits are wet, some are dry. But when that's dry, a light bit of sanding and well, hold on one sec. Okay, I just paused it so I can get up and get this again. So this is where we're headed, right? So this has already got the second coat of sanding and the oil paint on it, and so probably Monday afternoon or when I get in Monday, I'll show you the final two steps, and we'll be good. Yeah. Okay, we're back. It's actually Sunday. I'm in here doing some work today, and this is the result of our work. You can see that is a really nice texture. We don't really want to mess with it much. You can see there's some areas that hopefully I'm going to try and some areas like here that are higher ridges. Yeah, you can see that now. So lightly sand. Yeah, I'm real happy with the way this one turned out. So I'm not pushing super hard with the sandpaper, just enough to get it, you know, those little extra high ridges away. We don't want that. You can feel with your hands, like here it feels a little rougher. Get those ridges off the edge. See, there's your black gesso. I wonder if they just make this with acrylic and charcoal or something. I really don't know. Alright, so, pardon me, still kind of early in the morning here, a little bit of morning mucus in my throat. I'll clean all that off, see, although to be honest, it probably wouldn't matter that much. So, what we're going to do now is, I could paint on this, but it's black. I mean, I could actually even go over it with acrylic, but I think it's time, it's good to introduce the oil paint into the scenario. After all, we're after this, right? So, now, when it comes to the oil paint, let's get my, I'll show you what color I'm using here. That's raw umber. Burn umber. Basically, in this jar is some burn umber, some drying oil. That's it. Now, what I have been trying to do in the old days was, let's say, using a brush this size. That's a 10, and that's no good. That maybe saves time, but it gives you more of these little straight lines. So what I've arrived at now is, you can see here I've got a little bit of paint in there. You can put the lid on, it keeps for a long time. Usually I start with that much. Make sure you guys can see what's up effect. We'll zoom in and I'll just make a point not to move the board. There you go. I'll move myself. So what I do at this point is I just brush it in like this with small strokes. These will show, and so you want to make sure you're doing a kind of X sort of motion. You don't want all your strokes going, what you don't want to do is start doing strokes this way. I've learned that lesson the hard way. So you just want to set up a direction and basically cover the black. And this gives you, now when I have had boards that were overly textured and I've had to, I even got a sander out to blast one of them, you know, then I've, you know, had to, you can't put gesso on top of oil paint, so what I would have had to do there is just go in with another coat of oil paint. Those take a long time to dry. As you put a coat of this on top of another coat of this, it really takes a long time to dry, and it's not actually necessary to do if you get it right from the gesso stage. Sorry, I'm moving my board here. I'm going to just move my body instead. Although one thing you can do, you'll see when we get halfway, we'll turn it around. So work that into the little nooks and crannies. and then we'll flip it around like so, right? And if you put a good glop down, you can spread it around and get all the paint here. You want a good, even, consistent coat. Yeah, now if I was a real clever videographer, I would just find a way to speed all this up, show you the final. But it's one reason I selected, you know, a board 7x10. It's not that huge, doesn't take that long. Alright, so the last thing you do really is you make sure you got it all covered. And then it's good to hold it up. Let's zoom out a little for you. You're seeing a bit of a reflection, but this won't show up in the camera that well. You've got areas where maybe there's a predominant amounts of lines going one direction or the other. So again, don't start doing horizontal strokes, but using your sort of X motif, you can break that up. You're looking for something that is indistinct. It's going to support anything you want to paint over the top of it. So you don't want, say, you know, you've got a branch or something and you're running across the grain you selected. That doesn't look good. And a lot of times, like, I don't think these boards have been gone over so many times at the sanding. I don't believe I need to do a heck of a lot of sanding at the before I start painting, but I might give it a quick swipe with a bit of sandpaper that's, you know, a soft bit of sandpaper that doesn't have too much grit on it. Yeah, that's it. We're done. And that will look very much like this. This, you can see, is a little rougher than this one. This probably got sanded down a bit more, but it's the, you know, there's going to be some variation, which is great. Yeah, anyway. Hope that helps, and we'll be back real soon with I guess one of our regularly scheduled videos. Thanks for joining me today, and take good care and stay out of trouble.